welcome back for another CBSI Hot 10 show. Make sure you go over to comicbookinvest.com and check out the article where I may put a few extra little notes and tidbits that I don't cover here on the show tonight. And tonight's show might be a little quick because I'm not actually feeling that great, so I might just kind of get through this as quickly as I can. But hopefully you'll enjoy the show as you do all the content here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And for those of you who haven't tried Whatnot yet, now's your chance. Use the link below. Get yourselves a free $15 to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. You know, no strings attached. You'll help out the channel. You get yourself something nice in the meantime. And if you do got to get supplies and things to protect your collectibles, make sure you go over to BCW and use my code RENA10 to save yourself 10% off that order. You get your bags, your boards, your boxes, top loaders, whatever you need. It sucks to have to spend money on that stuff, but since you got to do it anyway, you might as well save money while you do it. Now, with that all said, if you just want to see the list, don't worry. I'm going to get into it right after this short little break.
Notable sales.
All right, our first notable sale of the day is a classic. This is Malibu Sun number 13, the Error Edition, you know, the weirdly miscolored Spawn. This is a 6.5. A 6.5 of this book, and this thing sold for a big chunk of change. It actually hit an all-time high this week when you see the price. A 6.5 sold for $1,800. Over $1,800 on a $2,000 ask. A best offer was made, but this is the Error Edition. Granted, there's not a lot of 6.5 sales to really compare that to, but that still is a pretty big number for a pretty average mid-grade, you know? Like this, that's kind of interesting. But then again, these aren't that easy to find, considering it is the Error Edition of that Malibu Sun. And I'll just play one of the first appearances of Spawn, because, I mean, we can argue all day about different versions and volumes of things where Spawn kind of early appears before that Spawn number 1 in, 92, whatever. That said, that's my first notable for this week. And my second notable is another interesting book that kind of goes back to those 90s. I mean, that's a time frame that I'm a big fan of. That's when I started collecting. This is the stuff that is definitely my wheelhouse. And Amazing Spider-Man at the time was one of my favorite books. Even after Todd stopped, Eric Larson picked up the reins and he kept it going with, yes, some exaggerated looking characters, but so were Todd's when you think back on it. But here we have Amazing Spider-Man 346. This is a Mark Jewelers insert edition. Now, I was never a huge Mark Jeweler insert collector. I mean, I get it. They make them more rare. It just wasn't really my thing to go and search for them. But it is worth your time to do so, because a lot of these things do get a very, very healthy premium. I mean, this thing came out in 1991, and just because it has the insert, this thing sold for an all-time high. Well, granted, it's the only sale of the Mark Jewelers insert, and it's a 9.8. $1,100, $1,136 at auction for this book. Meanwhile, if you just wanted a regular old direct edition, those things only go for around $200. So look at the premium for that Mark Jewelers insert. It makes it almost 6 times the value of a regular edition. Almost, but over 5 times. That is a huge, huge increase to get that, to look for that little insert inside the book. Now, with that all said, those were our notable sales for the week, so let's not waste any time, like I said, and get right into the list at number 10.
Number 10.
Back on the list after quite some time, New Agents of Atlas number 1. Yes, the War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas number 1. Man, it's such a long title to have to say. This thing has been up and down, has been on this spec cycle before because of all of the characters that show up in this book. And this is another reason why. When we have, I think, Luna Snow is showing up in the Marvel Rivals game, which is, interestingly enough, driving a lot of book sales lately. It's not often that video games have pushed books. We've seen it occasionally, some skins in Call of Duty with the Spawn characters, some things dropping here or there, but Marvel Rivals being such a new game, it's interesting that it is driving a lot of comic book sales lately, and this seems to be one of them, because she shows up as one of the characters, and this first appearance is back in our cycle with 20 plus sales, which volumes up a bit over where it's been. I mean, this thing has never completely disappeared, but I mean, a couple dozen sales when it's basically only had a few last week is kind of impressive and kind of notable, especially when you look at it, still kind of averaging in that $15 to $20 range. It has dipped below $10 here or there. CGC 9/8 are only about $60 to $70, which is a far cry from the highs this book once had, but still, based where it's been lately, this is a nice little increase in both volume and price, so that's why it's grabbing a spot right here at the bottom at number 10. So something to keep an eye on and see if the sales continue or if it was just a mild spike because of interest just generated in the game. I don't know. We'll see what goes from here. But with that said, I guess we should keep those things moving and get on to our next book.
Number 9.
Rumor. Well, we know that Chris Evans is supposed to come back into the Avengers movies with Avengers, I think Doomsday first, and then Secret Wars probably following that. So Chris Evans will be back, and he was Captain America. But where we're speculating and where the rumor mill is churning is how he's going to return, considering we know what happened to Cap at the end of the last Avengers movies. And we are still getting Anthony Mackie back as Captain America, Falcon Cap, Sam Wilson Cap. That said, a lot of people are turning towards this book because they're thinking it might be an evil Cap. It might be Hydra Cap. So they're looking at Steve Rogers' Captain America 1, which isn't really his first appearance as the Hydra Cap, but I think it's the first time you see him in the Hydra Cap uniform. But be that as it may, this is a book a lot of people are going to, probably because it's pretty cheap. Now, we've only talking about 30 plus sales, averaging about $7. Many of the sales were around cover price, but lately we've seen some outliers and some higher spikes near the end of the week, with highs hitting $20, some in there 10 to 15, which is kind of driving that price up, but still in the mix. Plenty of cover price and even under cover price sales this week, because like I said, this book was I don't want to say dollar bin fodder, but it was pretty close to it. It was pretty close to it. So with that said, just that little bit of rumor mill, rumor mongering going. A lot of people are turning towards this book, and some of the prices are kind of peaking up a little bit, just enough to get at that spot here at the bottom of the list at number 9. I'd also wouldn't sleep on Nomad because we don't know how he's coming back. So he could come back in his Nomad persona. I know Topher made a joke that he doesn't want to see that, but hey, we've seen stranger things in the MCU. We've seen Chris Evans come back as Johnny Storm. Maybe he just comes back as Johnny Storm again. We just know Evans is back. Could be anything. Could be peaches. Could be lunch meat. I don't know. That said, let's keep it rolling and get on to our next book.
Number 8.
So at number 8, we have Invincible number 19, the first appearance of the Battle Beast. No, this is not related to the upcoming season of Invincible, because we will be getting Invincible Season 3 early in 2025. This is because news is breaking that Kirkman and Otley are going to go back to the Invincible universe on a new comic book project that is focused in on this character. So interest going back towards this book in issue 19. There were some later reprints and some later variants released, but this is the original OG edition, Invincible number 19. Only about a dozen sold this week, which doesn't seem that impressive, but when you compare it to last week, there were only like 3 sales. So that's a healthy increase in volume, considering the price of this book is still not cheap. So while it's never been like, this is not like it was $10 last week. This was still like $80 on average, but this week it's hitting more like 100, 115. So prices are eking up a little bit, and like I said, the volume is up quite a bit from where it was. And even a CGC 9/8 sold this week for $275 because again, people are excited. That is one of a lot of people's favorite side characters in the Invincible universe. So it'll be interesting to see how well that series does and how long it runs for. But with that said, we're not going to belabor the point and linger here too long, so let's keep it rolling and get on to lucky number 7.
Number 7.
And at number 7, we have Mark Spears in, and it is not Monsters. I know a lot of you complain about seeing Monsters every week, but hey, they're still selling, and they're still selling well. But this week, we have a lot of new blood and a lot of new books because, well, some volumes have been peaking, despite the fact that this is normally a slow time of year. A lot of news and things are dropping. A lot of things are happening, causing some little spikes here and there. So at number 7, we have the Thundercats number 1 Apex FOC variant that Spears did the cover on here. There were some delays at Diamond, causing some difficulty in a lot of people obtaining the book on time. So we can mix that into some of the problems, I think, with some of these books lately. But this one in particular, again, not a ton of volume, But even with a dozen sold, they're not a lot listed, and a lot of them are looking like they're selling for $30 and over for this FOC edition. This is not it's not an incentive yet. This is just the regular edition book. Already up over 30 bucks. Granted, only about a dozen sales at that price, but highs hitting 42 bucks already. That said, there are incentives for this book. There is a 1 in 10 foil, which is this cover virgin foil, and then there is a virgin non-foil 1 in 15. Both of those are also doing very well, selling at least 60 bucks, and I think the virgin might have even hit as high as 100. And this book is only like a week or so old, depending on when shops got it. Because again, there were some delays and a lot of shipping the last couple of weeks and in the weeks ahead. But with that said, this is definitely one to keep an eye out for because it could still be on a shelf somewhere near you. I mean, it just came out. Who knows? So go take a look at your shop and see if you can go and grab one of these. I like it. It's a cool cover and it's Spears, but it's selling pretty well right now here at number 7. With that said, let's get the last book in our top half, or I should say bottom half of the list, and look at what we got at number 6.
Number 6.
A Hut coming in at number 6. Rota the Hut. I talked about this book even yesterday on Dollar Bin Digging because I still think you can find some of these out there in cheap boxes. Not only that, a lot of these sold for very cheap this week, but a lot of these sold. So, with that said, coming in here at number 6, we have Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, number 6. First appearance of Rota the Hut inside because of casting news that the dude from the Bear show on Hulu is going to be Rota the Hut. I guess he could be the voice. I doubt they're going to put him in a weird hut costume because that would be kind of... I can't envision it. I don't envision what we're seeing here because Rota was a small hut. It's almost like a baby hut. Like when he first showed up in Clone Wars, he was a really little baby. I think they called him Stinker. And then we have him in this comic here. He's a little bit bigger, but still technically very, very, very young for a hut. With that said, there are 2 covers on this book, and both of them are selling. Granted, the cover A seems to be selling a bit more than the cover B, but both are worth grabbing if you can find them with over 80 sales. And that's, again, why I have it here and I have it so high on the list, because a lot of volume on this book. Granted, many of the sales were at cover, but there were plenty that spiked higher than that. Plenty of $10 sales, plenty of $15 sales mixed in, even hitting highs of $25 for this book. So something to keep an eye on, but also be on the lookout that you can still occasionally snag cheap copies at some stores, like maybe some My Comic shops, Reload and a Restock, etc. They may not up the price, but hey, who knows? Maybe you get lucky. But tons of volume on this book, and I don't know what we're going to make of it. All we know is there's a little bit of casting. We don't know how large the role will be or any of that, but it was enough to cause a little bit of a spike and a stir in the market for this book. So something to keep an eye out for when you're out there flipping through those cheap boxes and those back issues that might just be discounted in some way, because you might still find that one there. With that said, now let's get to the top half of the list and see what we got going here.
Number 5.
We are still in a galaxy far, far away, but not related to any news, but related to a Disney Plus show that's airing right now. I'm talking about Skeleton Crew. And sorry to spoil it for you if you haven't caught up. I haven't caught up, so this was spoiled for me as well. Granted, I kind of guessed at something like this, but we still don't know the end game. Point being, we have Star Wars number 7 here because this is the first appearance of Crimson Jack, and that is who Jude Law is saying that he is. I say that because he may not actually be telling the truth. Maybe he is actually somebody else. We don't know how the story is going to play out completely yet. Point being, interest has been raised on this book because of this last episode, episode 3 of Skeleton Crew. Issue 7 came out way back in 1978. About 30 sales on this thing this week. We're seeing averages around 15 bucks, highs hitting 25 raw. A CGC 9.8 even hit $200 for this classic Star Wars book. So flip through those back issue bins. Maybe you can find this thing still there for cheap because, I mean, Crimson Jack was never like the biggest character in the world. And also, don't forget, a lot of other places might be pointing to the reintroduced Crimson Jack that was in the Halcyon Legacy book that only came out in 2022. Looks a little bit different than Jude Law. I mean, my man looks more like Man-at-Arms crossed with Sheamus from the WWE with the big red mustache and whatnot. But, hey, just because that's the appearance of the comic doesn't mean the character can't look different when they portray them on screen. But like I said, that's still like the new appearance of a Crimson Jack. This is the original appearance of Crimson Jack. Call this legacy, call this not in canon. I'm not going to have those arguments. I'm just telling you, people are buying this book more so than the Halcyon Legacy. But Doesn't hurt to go look for that if you want to. Halcyon Legacy 1, I think he pops up in. With that said, let's keep this thing rolling and check out number 4.
Number 4.
It's Jeff the Land Shark showing up here on the list thanks to Marvel Rivals again. So Jeff apparently is a character in Marvel Rivals, so here he is on the list. A lot of fans of Jeff the Land Shark. He is a cute little character. I get it. He has popped up here and there before. He keeps getting one-shots and specials all over the place, random covers. He had a cover this week on Scarlet Witch number 7 that people were looking for, so keep an eye on that one as well. But here we have It's Jeff, the first, I think, solo comic for him, because there was also It's Jeff, the Jeff-verse came out after this. But this one is the original. This is the cover A. This is the cover A by Gurihiru. Sorry if I'm butchering the name, but this is a pricey book and has been a bit of a pricey book for a while. Granted, the last couple of months, this has been in like that $30 to $40 range. You go back, maybe back in September, it was only $20. But as of now, this cover A is averaging $60. I saw like a half dozen sales on it, but all of the covers are doing well. The other two are here. You have the one with the rubber ducky. You have the Ron Lim with Namor Below and MODOK. That one's also selling. Those are more averaging $20, where the cover A is actually getting that $60 mark. So get any of them, you can find them because they all seem to be selling. But $60 is an impressive number, like I said, for that Gurihiru. So that's why I have it up so high on the list. But this may not be the last we see of Jeff as we keep the list rolling on to our top 3.
Number 3.
Sorry for that 3-second spoiler, but we have Jeff here again with his first appearance in West Coast Avengers number 7. Another book that has hit our cycle before, has hit the list before, and is still a pretty pricey book when you look at it. I mean, I didn't think it would even reach here, let alone stay here. I mean, this for a good time was like a $20 book. And then it was like 30 to 40, and then it hit 50. And these days, this is over $100. First appearance of Jeff the Land Shark is over $100. We had about 20 sales this week, where last week I think we only had like 3 or 4. So once again, a significant increase in volume for a book that's this pricey is significant, and why it's reaching so high on the list is averages, like I said, are over $100. Raw hit a high of $180. That's a raw copy of this book, $180. Craziness. But when you look at the CGC 9.8 price at $350, maybe it isn't crazy. Because if that is a nice enough copy and you think you can get a 9.8, there's still a lot of meat on the bone there. So just something to keep in mind and something to take a look at. I'm just surprised by these prices, and surprised it's not only stayed this high, but it's actually climbed as high as it has over these last months and, I guess, even years at this point for Land Shark. Because I think it's been around since, 2021, I think is when this book might have come out. Might have even been earlier than that. It's hard to remember years as you get older, like I am getting older. But still, impressive sales, impressive volumes for this book, considering the price of it. So we'll keep the show rolling and get to our top 2 next.
Number 2.
And at number 2, we have another Mark Spears book, and it is also not monsters again. This one is the Superwoman special that came out this week. This is the 1 in 25 incentive edition. I had this on the Wednesday watch list and showed you it was already pre-selling for a few extra bucks before it even came out. So it was definitely something to keep an eye on. And here we are at the end of the week with about 20 sales on this 1 in 25 incentive, which is a decent amount of volume for an incentive when those prices are as high as they are, as this is averaging $65 plus at this stage. Hitting a high of $100 this week for a 1 in 25. Normally, we're talking about most DC incentives are like $10 to $15 for a 1 in 25. But on the rare occasion, covers hit like this, they capture the marketplace. And here we have Lobo, we got Superwoman. It's a Mark Spears who, as you know, what he's doing to the marketplace these days. All these covers are rolling and flying off the shelves. So not surprised to see it on the list, but I am still surprised at some of the numbers. I'm surprised it got this high. I figured this might have been maybe, like I said, I think at the time I was like, well, maybe 40 to 50, but it's over 65, even hitting $100. Those are some big numbers. So that's why it came in here at number 2, but we still have one book left to talk about this week. So let's just get right to it.
And our number 1.
And our number one book of the week is this spoiler cover. It's not a spoiler anymore, and it really wasn't much of a spoiler considering everybody knew Ultimate Wolverine was coming. Everyone knew. I don't think it was much of a secret. But this cover here, it's pretty cool with the woods, and you got the new look for Wolverine with the mask, I guess. Cool. This is that Ultimate Universe 1 year in #1 spoiler cover by Alessandro Capuccio. I'm sorry, I'm butchering names right now, but like I said, I'm not feeling 100%. But with that said, this spoiler cover is flying off the shelves, and if you were lucky to get one, you've done well for yourself because it just came out this week. And already with over 100 sold, we're seeing averages over $15. And highs hitting $25 already. It's only been 2 days. I mean, it's only Friday. This just came out on Wednesday, and this is what we're already talking about for this cover. I don't know. Pretty cool, and it's an homage to that great Barry Windsor Smith cover too from Marvel Comics Presents. You remember that Weapon X storyline, so you got that going for it too. It's a cool cover. I didn't get one yet. I had requested one, but as I mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of shops are getting delayed books from Diamond, and one of my LCSs didn't get their books yet. Didn't even get them today. They're still waiting. And this is one of the books I'm waiting for to see if I get my copy. Hopefully I still do. But hey, you never know. Shops got to do what they got to do. And we'll see what happens. But with all that said, that is our list for this week. But please don't go anywhere. Make sure you stick around and check out the boys on The Qualified. Coming up next, continuing their Best of 2024 series through the month of December. Today, they are focusing in on convention exclusives. So you don't want to miss that. There were a lot of cool convention exclusives that came out this year that you should really take a look at. And the boys are going to look at those tonight. So make sure you stick around for that. And also check out the outside looking in that they'll cover as among as the other series and segments that they have. A lot of fun that they have on that show. So make sure you hang around for the boys there. Come back tomorrow, Saturday night special. The boys got another show for you there. Sunday, we got the Star Wars show, Dark Side. And then next week, we'll start it all up anew on Monday with a new Wednesday watch list and keep this channel moving along. So with that all said, thank you for all the support. Thank you for checking out all the shows we have here. And I will see you all later with some more content. All right.